The winter wind tore through the crumbling apartment building. In a dim kitchen, a barefoot boy clutched a small basket of food, shaking with fear. Across from him stood a man in a tailored suit who didn't belong there, until the boy whispered, "Please don't take our food. My mom is sick." If you believe in compassion, hope, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories. Let's begin. The winter wind clawed at the old apartment building, slipping through cracked windows and rusted frames like it had no mercy left to spare. Inside a narrow kitchen, dimly lit by a flickering bulb, Grant Walker stood frozen in the doorway. His tailored coat and polished shoes looked painfully out of place against the chipped walls and uneven floor. In front of him stood a young boy, barefoot on the cold tile, clutching a small basket of food as if it were his last defense against the world. His name was Evan. His lips trembled as he looked up at the stranger. "Please, don't take our food," he whispered. "My mom is sick." Grant hadn't come to take anything. He had returned to the neighborhood where he grew up, searching for answers after the death of his wife, Emily. His daughter, Chloe, had been asking questions about hunger and fairness, questions Grant couldn't escape. Now, standing before a child guarding crumbs like treasure, he felt the weight of those questions settle heavily on his chest. The apartment was colder inside than outside. On a worn sofa lay Evan's mother, Laura, wrapped in a blanket too thin to offer real warmth. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow, her strength nearly gone. Even lifting her head seemed to cost her more than she had left. The pantry behind her told a silent story: 2 loaves of bread, a few packets of soup, nothing more. Evan spoke quickly, afraid that silence might bring judgment. His mother had been sick for weeks. Doctors were expensive. Work was impossible. So Evan worked instead. He swept sidewalks, collected cans, skipped meals. He learned early that adults rarely stayed when things became difficult. Most knocks on the door meant eviction warnings or threats. Grant listened, his chest tightening. He had buried his own grief under success, believing it was strength. But this was survival stripped bare, and for the first time in years, Grant felt ashamed of how far wealth had distanced him from reality. Grant slowly knelt in front of Evan, lowering himself until they were eye to eye. He spoke softly, promising he wasn't there to hurt them. Evan didn't respond. Trust had failed him too many times to come easily. So Grant didn't argue. He stood and left. When he returned minutes later, his arms were full: groceries, warm meals, medicine, blankets, supplies Evan barely recognized. Grant fixed the broken heater using tools from his car, scrubbed the kitchen, and cooked dinner as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Laura wept quietly as she took her medication, embarrassed but relieved. Evan watched in stunned silence as a man who looked powerful chose humility instead. As Evan ate his first proper meal in days, Grant felt something inside him loosen. His grief didn't disappear, but for the first time, it felt lighter. The heater hummed softly, filling the apartment with unfamiliar warmth. Evan ate slowly, as though afraid the moment might vanish if he moved too fast. His shoulders relaxed, his eyes no longer filled with panic. After a long silence, he looked up at Grant. "Why are you helping us?" Grant felt the weight of the question. He thought of Chloe waiting at home. Of Emily's absence. Of the man he had become while hiding from pain behind work and wealth. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "life gives us a chance to do the right thing. And this time, I'm not turning away." Evan nodded, small, uncertain, but real. In that moment, trust began to grow where fear had lived. And Grant realized kindness wasn't charity. It was connection. It was remembering who he was before grief taught him to close his heart. Before leaving, Grant made promises he intended to keep. He would return with a doctor for Laura. Bring warm clothes for Evan. Deliver groceries every week. Fix the heating for good. Evan stepped forward and hugged him tightly, the kind of hug a child gives only when they finally feel safe. Grant closed his eyes, holding on as if afraid to let go of the moment. Outside, snow fell softly as Grant stepped into the night, tears filling his eyes, not from pain, but from healing. Helping this family hadn't just changed their future. It had restored a part of Grant he thought grief had taken forever. And in that frozen neighborhood, 2 broken families found the beginning of something whole. Thanks for being here. Like and subscribe to keep more unforgettable stories coming.